Today at the Dietary Restriction Kitchen, we're going to make a classic vegetarian dish, and it's a soup, and it's minestrone. But for our version, we're going to make it gluten-free by using gluten-free pasta, and we're going to make it dairy-free for our topping by using dairy-free cheese. Delicious, tastes just like a classic, very nice chunky vegetable soup, and great for everybody. So let's get started. Hi there, and welcome to the Dietary Restriction Kitchen. I'm Nat Ryan. Today in the kitchen, we're going to make a classic soup that is naturally vegetarian, and that is minestrone. Now, normally minestrone has pasta in it, right? Well, we're going to make ours gluten-free by using gluten-free pasta. And also sometimes there's even some Parmesan cheese added to the top when you serve it. And we're going to do that, except that we're going to do it in a dairy-free way using dairy-free cheese at the end. So stick with us. It's going to be wonderful. It's a wonderful soup to make. Very easy. Lots of ingredients, but really, really super easy to do. And so let's get started on it by going over the ingredients first. Okay, so the first thing we're going to need is a bit of olive oil. Okay, pretty standard, right? Then we're going to need some carrot, some celery, some onion chopped up, so we're going to chop all that. I've already got chopped up onion. We're going to need 1 large clove of garlic, or 2 smaller ones if you have smaller. Okay, and then we're going to need just a little tiny bit of tomato paste, so not the whole can of a tomato paste, but a little bit of that. We're going to need some chopped seasonal vegetables. Now, I am going to use zucchini, and I'm also going to get some frozen green beans. I don't have them out yet, but I will. So you need 2 cups of seasonal vegetables. Could be anything: potatoes, sweet potatoes, zucchini, green beans, yellow beans for that matter, peas or sweet potato, anything like that, or squash. So I'm going to use that, and then some green beans. So totaling 2 cups. And then we're going to need, my spices too. We're going to need, of course, we're going to need some salt and pepper, but also a little bit of oregano, a little bit of thyme, some bay leaves, so a couple of bay leaves. We're going to need a little bit of red pepper flakes, but just a pinch, so that's really an optional item. And we're also going to need a big can of diced tomatoes. We're going to need some vegetable broth, quite a lot of that actually, because we need 6 cups, so I have 2 of them handy. We're going to need some kidney beans or other beans. It could be white beans. Traditionally, it's white kidney beans, but I'm choosing the dark because my pasta, we're going to use some gluten-free pasta. I'm using this variety. This is my favorite, is the Go-Go quinoa pasta. Using fusilli today, but it could be elbow macaroni. But if you have to be gluten-free like me, you're going to want a gluten-free pasta. And we're going to top it off. Oh, we need a little tiny bit of lemon juice. We need a little bit of fresh spinach or kale or collard greens. That's anything like a bitter green, so a little bit of that. Well, actually, 2 cups of it chopped up. And we're going to need, I did say olive oil, yes. And we're going to do a little bit of dairy-free cheese at the end. Totally optional, don't have to do it, but make a little, just to top it when you're serving it out. So this is a lot of ingredients. But we do it one stage at a time, a little bit at a time, so let's get started on it now. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is put quite a bit of olive oil on the bottom. It's 3 tablespoons at this point of olive oil. We're going to let that heat up. Let it just get so it's shimmering. Then we're going to start adding our vegetables. So the full recipe, you can find it on the Dietary Restriction Kitchen website. The link will be in the description for this video. So there's some celery and some carrots. I had already chopped some up last night, so I'm going to put them in. Right, so get that going. I'm going to turn this down to medium-high. So I had it on high just to get it started. And get that in there. We're going to get an onion. So I'm judging it about 1 medium onion, so almost a whole bag, but not quite. So something like that. And so, yeah. that going in there as well. Okay, and the next thing we're going to add to that is the tomato paste. I know this sounds really weird to add the tomato paste at this point, but bear with me. All will be revealed. Okay, so we get the tomato paste in there. I'm going to just use my finger. You know, you don't have to do that, but just lick my finger too off camera there. Okay, so I'm going to get that going. That's turned out. That's kind of, and we're going to get that well, cooking a little bit for about 7 to 8 minutes. So I'm going to do that off camera. We'll come back once we've got our 7 to 8 minutes done. All right, so we're doing about 7 minutes or so. So now we're going to add our seasonal vegetables. Now, I have zucchini, right? So about a cup of zucchini, so I'm putting that in there. Okay, and plus a cup of frozen cut green beans. Could be frozen vegetables. Look, even if all you've got is some frozen mixed vegetables, if you have 2 cups of frozen mixed vegetables, you could add that. You don't have to be, oh, I gotta buy fancy vegetables. No, you could just use what you have, or just a bag, you know, most of a bag, or half of a bag probably, of frozen mixed vegetables. So then we're gonna, there we go, we got that in there. We're gonna add our garlic, our chopped up garlic. I already chopped up mine last night. Put it in a bag, which this bag is gonna have to go in the garbage. This once you got garlic in something, forget about it. You know, you need to get rid of that bag for sure. So let me just put it in the garbage right away. That stinky garlic bag. Okay, so there we go. So then we're gonna get that in there like that, and we're gonna stir it around. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I'm being quiet here. I'm just looking at my... Okay. So now the next thing we're going to do is add our diced tomatoes. I don't know why I had a blank. My mind just went blank there for a minute. Okay, so then we're going to add our tomatoes in there. So you could say, well, my goodness, that's too thick. Well, yeah, just hang on a second, because we're going to add our broth. I always like to add something and then kind of give it a bit of a stir, right? So that's totally me. So the thing is about the broth, vegetable broth, you're going to need 6 cups. So that's the whole of one and probably half of the other, right? You know, pretty much half of another. So buy 2, right? And you can get, like, look, you can just get no-name vegetable broth. Doesn't have to be like a fancy brand if you don't want it. Right, if you're vegan, or you know someone in your life that is vegan, make sure that it's, you know, totally animal free and animal friendly, you know, all that, because, you know, that's important. Okay, and then I've got another couple of cups, so you can see this is going to make, okay, see now, see there's our volume of our soup right there, right? So you got that. We're going to add now in our, oh, that's what I forgot. See, I did that before too, right? We have our oregano and thyme, so that's what I put that in. Should have went in with those vegetables, but like I say, I've done that before. You've probably seen me do that before. And okay, so now we're going to add some salt. I'm going to just do it this way. This is what I do. I just pour some in my hand and just do that. Okay. We're going to add some freshly ground black pepper. Okay. And we're going to add a couple red pepper flakes, just a pinch. So I've got them like this. I'm just going to go, got a bit in my fingers and just go like that. This is just going to add tiny bit of heat. Don't have to do it if you don't want. And a couple bay leaves. So we're going to throw those in and get them in there. So you can see now it's starting to look like a soup, right? It's now starting to get that soup look to it, but we're going to add more stuff to it. But at this point, we need to raise the temperature back up, and we're going to get that to the boil, and then we're going to end up turning it down and putting the cover on it. And I'm going to show you that in a minute, what we do when we're going to put the cover on, because we need to gap the cover. All right, so I've raised the temperature obviously, and I had to wait for that to come to the boil. Now, once that happens, you want to whip it right back down to sort of medium low. And I like to, because I know we're going to put the cover on this, and I know if I put my heat up too high, it's really going to give me a problem. So we've turned it back down to sort of a medium low. We're going to put the cover on, right? But we want to gap that cover, so we don't want it, we want to be able to vent it. So what I've got is these little guys. I don't know if, see? And then you put them on the pot, so you can do this. That'll gap it, you know, so you can have one, you could have two, see, like that. And then they can gap, it'll gap it, you know, quite a bit. So that's what I'm going to do. You could use a wooden spoon across, like you could do like wooden spoon across it, you know, to gap it, you know what I mean, like that. You know what I mean? So you can use other things. It doesn't have to be one of these. But I'm going to use my guys because I have them, you know, so it's going to gap it about 1 inch. So that's what I'm looking for, is to gap it about 1 inch like that. It wants to go this way, but on the other side here, but yes. So gapped about 1 inch, because look, it's still simmering. That's what we want it to have happen. And we're going to let it simmer for about 15 minutes so that we can get those vegetables, start to get those vegetables nice and tender. And once we've done that, we'll come back and do the next part. Okay, so after about 15 minutes, we're going to take the cover off. We can take these guys off of here as well. We're going to give that a little stir. You can see that it was still kind of, you know, just, you could see it bubbling. So that's what we wanted. And so at this point, we're going to add our pasta. That's a cup of our gluten-free pasta. Remember, you know me, I like to stir it in. Okay, so it's kind of disappeared in there. We're going to add our kidney beans. Like, it could be white kidney beans, or I like to use the red because I like to see that color of them in there. Okay, and then we're also going to put in our chopped up baby spinach, or chopped up spinach, or kale, or you could use collard greens, so anything like that. I'm going to add them in, and it's about 2 cups of that. So, and I wash them because I like to, I don't trust the bag that says it's washed, but I don't really trust that. So, you know, that's just me. So we're going to leave that cover off. I'm going to turn it, zip it up a little bit here to about 3. I had it at 1 with the cover on, but now I'm going to put it down to 3. We're going to leave it uncovered for about 20, or we're going to check it in about 10 minutes because I want to make sure that that pasta, what the thing is, I need to check that pasta because I don't want the pasta to be overdone. So we're going to check it in about 10 minutes and see how the pasta is doing in there. And then, you know, well, if it needs to be cooked a little bit more, then we will. But we want the pasta in there to be just al dente. We don't want to overcook that pasta. So we're going to check it in about 10 more minutes. We'll leave the cover off for this part and let it get going again. So, and then 10 minutes. Alrighty, so actually it hasn't even been 10 minutes. And I just had a look at the pasta because I'm just like, okay, let me snag one. And I tried it. They're starting to get al dente. So what I'm going to do, the recipe says to take that off the heat, but all I'm going to do is just turn it off because the camera's, you know, I don't want to move this pot somewhere where the camera can't reach. And then we're going to add a little bit of lemon juice. That's what it says in the recipe. I'm just going to kind of bring up the flavors. So it's a couple teaspoons of lemon juice. 1, 2. Okay, so we got 2 teaspoons of lemon juice thereabouts. I'm going to put that, see, stir that in. And that is a really nice chunky soup now. I mean, it is. Now, if you wanted to, you could have done everything like we were doing and then just don't put the pasta or the beans or the spinach in, and then you just have a pot of vegetable soup, right? But it's the pasta and the beans and the spinach, and look, if you don't want spinach, don't put it in, but it's the pasta and beans for sure that make it minestrone. Then we're going to take another tablespoon of olive oil and we're going to whip that in there too. Okay, so that's getting that in there as well. I'm going to do this, going to stir it in. I'm going to give a little taste here in a sec, and then we're going to adjust our salt and pepper. I'm just gonna dip. Oh, that's good. I'm going to put a little bit, yeah, both of both. Okay, a little bit more. So I'm going to put a little bit more pepper in there. I'm going to put a little bit more salt. I'm going to do about, I'm going to guesstimate that at about half a teaspoon. A little bit tiny. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, more like a teaspoon. Okay, and then you can take out your bay leaves at this point if you can find them. Okay, so yeah, so here's the bay leaf. We're going to take that one out. I don't know where the other one is. It's in there somewhere. Just don't let somebody eat it or have it, try to eat it, because that's really hard on it. Anyway, it's in there somewhere. But yeah, you want to try to take those guys out. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to give that a try next, because that looks really, really lovely. Nice thick soup. So here we go. Can't wait. Okay, so let's give the soup a try. I've got it served out here with a little bit of the fake feta, as I like to call it, the dairy-free feta on top. You could use other dairy-free shredded cheese, but let's give that a try. You don't have to put the cheese on at all if you don't want to. And let's give it a try. Pasta's perfectly cooked, but so al dente. Lovely. Vegetables are tender, but not overdone. So, it was just important for that, because if you wanted to reheat the soup, right? Like you're going to reheat a bit, you don't want the vegetables to be so far gone right now that when if you were to reheat it, then you're going to have a problem because everything's going to go mushy. This is going like perfect because you could just reheat it quick, and still they wouldn't be too mushy, but they would be, yeah, still in that range of good. Yeah, that's really good. Got a nice broth to it, tomatoey, vegetable-y, really good. Oh, that's nice, yeah. Great for in the fall. Now that we're into the fall, a great one to have in the fall, in the winter. If you wanted to make it a more substantial meal, if you're going, oh, I need more than that, just you make it to have some with, well, the bread that you can eat if you got to be gluten-free. What I like to do with this kind of a soup is I like to make a grilled cheese sandwich using gluten-free bread and dairy-free cheese slices, and I make a small, because you know gluten-free bread is quite small at the store normally, and so it makes a small grilled cheese sandwich, and have that with the, you know, minestrone soup. Wonderful to have as a meal like that. So yeah, absolutely works great. Hope you give it a try. It's a wonderful vegetarian version of the soup, and you know, you don't need meat every day, right? So it could be a great starter for a meal too. Let's say this could be like a first course of, let's say you're having a dinner party, you want to do soup rather, like in the winter, rather than salad first. This would be great. So yeah, before you get to the meat and potatoes. So this is also could be used in that way as well. So very versatile. Hope you give it a try. Thanks for stopping by here and visiting me here at the Dietary Restriction Kitchen. We'll see you next time. Happy cooking, guys. Bye for now.